right, you're good.
Okay. At this time, I want to call our regular monthly board meeting to order. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. At this time, would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, our superintendent will share some comments.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Good afternoon, board members. I just want to share a couple comments and then we'll move into the agenda. I want to start by just thanking all of our staff members for all their hard work to close the school year on such a positive note. Obviously, with the school closure, a lot of special end-of-year events were canceled. Had a lot of information on different events, such as drive-in events, as staff members worked hard to try to say goodbye to groups of students, if not all of their students, and appreciate that effort, those efforts by our staff members. I think it just goes back to show you the tremendous relationships between children and staff members of schools that are formed across the school year and throughout children's school time from kindergarten through 12th grade. As we move towards spring break, just want to remind everybody who may be watching about some special dates that we hope, or you need to note if you would. High school graduation will be on the 25th of July. At 9 o'clock, we have Eastern Randolph High School, Randleman High School, Southwestern Randolph High School, and Trinity High School. And then at 10 o'clock that day will be the graduation ceremonies at Providence Grove High School, Wheatmore High School, and the early college. All of those dates are on the school system webpage on the COVID-19 resource page as well. Also want to point out two other big dates that have been noted in the past already, but I want to continue to reinforce them. The early college will start 2 days earlier due to new legislation that came out recently. So the first day of the early college will be August 4th instead of August 6th. And then our 30 traditional high schools will start on the 17th of August instead of August 24 as originally scheduled. So those change in first day of school for the 2020-2021 school year, those changes were due to legislation that was implemented several weeks ago. So Mr. Cook, board members, that's the conclusion of my comments for tonight.
Thank you. Hey, we had no one sign up for public comments, so we're going to move on. I need a motion to adopt the meeting agenda.
Did the minutes approval?
What? Did I miss something?
Approval of minutes.
Oh, I did, gosh. How did I do that? I need a motion to approve the May 4th, 2020 and the May 18th, 2020 minutes.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, state your name and...
Oh, no, you don't have to do that.
We don't?
No, because
We're
there's
out
no
of that
remote
now?
participation by any board member.
Say that again?
It's not here.
Since there's not a board member participating remotely tonight, then you don't have to do the roll call voting.
Okay. Didn't understand that.
Okay.
We're good. Opposed? Okay. Say no one for recognitions, we're not doing that, so no public comments. So I need a motion to adopt meeting agenda.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll move on to the information items, Dr. Gaines.
Board members want to, actually, I'm going to get. I'm not tall, I'm hanging down to that. Board members, just want to share some information with you about, as an update, as you see on your agenda item tonight, the update on the back-to-school plan, which is something our staff members have been working on for several weeks now. We got to a point, I think I referenced this earlier in a previous board meeting, we got to a point where we were meeting every Thursday afternoon, and we were updating. I think actually it started on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 o'clock, and we're just bringing updates in, and finally at one point we changed to going on offense because as far as what are we going to do to get back in school, and we've chosen to call it back to school instead of reopening because the school year ended. The 1920 school year has ended, and so now we're coming back to school for 2021. But just want to give you an overview of what's going on with the group's work, and then Kat Berry's going to bring in a big piece in a minute and share with you, give you an update on the remote learning plan. But just start out with, just kind of take you across the whole landscape of our work. As mentioned, there is a remote learning plan. It's being worked on currently by teachers, lead teachers, principals, assistant principals, central office leaders. And that plan has to be developed per statute and submitted to the State Board of Education by the 20th of July. We will bring that to you. In your notes tonight, it shows the 20th of July. We bring it and submit it that night. We're probably going to bring it to you on the 25th of June because we believe that is a living document and it will continue to evolve over time. Now, to everybody listening in the public, we surely hope that we don't need to use the remote learning plan. We surely hope we get kids back in school. But when asked about that, why are you doing that? We are doing that, number one, we're required by law, but number two, we're doing it to make sure we're in a position, if needed, to implement it. Also mentioned just a minute ago, as we've been moving through, we've had to change some start of school dates. The traditional schools again start on August 17th. We'll bring the early college students back on August 4th. Today started the first interaction of students back on school campuses. Very proud of that, very excited. Very proud of the staff members for their efforts to try that. We did have some action by the Athletic Association early last week to allow athletic workouts starting today. Now, I sent a voicemail out, pretty lengthy voicemail out last week, I think it was on Thursday, and try to do my voicemails. I always post them because I know that even my days as a principal, parents would tell me, we heard your voice, we weren't ready to write, but over time, well, when we heard your voice, we did go check the web page. So I try to do that with the voicemails I send. But just point out some big things about, some key points about these workouts. And we did include high school marching bands because we do know what's coming in the fall. Somebody asked me a couple weeks ago about all this, and I said, my job as superintendent of Randolph County School System was to keep hope alive, myself personally, but as much as I could in the community, that we would come back at some point in the 1920 school year. So at this point, my focus is on getting the children back in school for 2021. My focus is on getting activities to resume the best we possibly can. So when we talked about athletics, I thought it was only appropriate that we give a chance for the marching bands to have opportunity to come back and get together, because we're going to get back in school, and then what's going to happen at halftime of these football games should we be able to get these activities going back. And it wouldn't make sense for me to say marching bands stay away when I'm sitting here pulling as hard as I can that we will get athletics and our activities back for our kids and Friday night football. But a couple things, student participation is voluntary. We're very clear with the athletic directors. We met with them, I think it was Wednesday morning, met with them. We had met about 2 weeks earlier and said, you need to start thinking if we get a chance to do workouts, we can't wait till this comes up and then you're starting to make your plans. So they've been working on this for several weeks, but and gave them some parameters of what we thought the workouts might look like and the rules in place. But I did say on my voicemail, these are voluntary, so you can't go being upset with a child who doesn't come, who may not feel comfortable coming, may have may be at risk of a condition. So that was one thing I wanted parents to know also, that this announcement in no way meant that every team had to start hosting workouts. It may not be a need for a baseball team to host a workout right now. I don't see why I'm not saying they're wrong to do it, but I would certainly understand even a fall or winter sport may not do anything much early on. The workouts, we did tell them everything was outside other than basketball, volleyball, and cheerleading. Obviously, basketball and volleyball are limited what you really can do outside other than straight conditioning, which I did stress that this early phase, and we have phase 1, 2, and 3 with the athletic piece, a lot of that should be conditioning right now. The kids are, obviously getting them back in physical shape is going to be important. But we mentioned we stress weight rooms, restroom rooms, athletic training rooms, band rooms. Anything else inside the building are not available to these workouts. The only thing they can use is the gym. It's only for those groups. And the idea behind that was to minimize what had to be cleaned up. Workouts outside, total of 25 people, including the coaches. Workouts inside, total of 10 people, including the coaches. Everybody will be screened. Thought that was important. Parents needed to know that. There's not an option for a parent to say, my child can't be screened. If your child, we have to go back to it's our activity. And if you're going to participate in our activity, then we're going to have to do some things to maintain safety and temperature check as part of that. No workout can go more than 90 minutes. We were very clear with the coaches that the 90 minutes does not include the time period that's used to check kids in. And workouts are closed to parents and spectators. We need to keep this as contained as possible. And one of the things I said to the coaches, athletic directors, and the band directors were on that call, and principals, athletic directors, band directors, principals, middle and high school principals, was I'm counting on athletics and marching band to help us lead us back to school. We need to show we can safely have these activities on campuses, even though it's small numbers. We've got to start making progress to get back towards the school year. So I'm looking forward to letting them lead the way in many ways towards the August return to school. Budgets. I mentioned this before. We have three big sources of relief money. State PRC 154, that came from the governor. We received that somewhere right around spring break, $633,000. It's very flexible. Todd is battling right now. He wants to maintain the most flexibility he can with that, so we're watching the other areas. Federal PRC, which you've heard, CARES Act, $3.6 million has not been released yet. I sent you these budgets on an email about 3 weeks ago now. And then House Bill 1043, $2 million. We're very concerned about House Bill 1043 for anybody out there listening. House Bill 1043 expires at the end of June. We've been told that the expiration date will go farther than the end of June. We needed to go farther than the end of June. They need to tell us now so we can put the child nutrition money we need to put there on House Bill 1043 instead of having to move it up to that first amount, 633. That early deadline is quite stringent, and it's not helpful. And I would tell anybody that calls me, it's not helpful that it's that early. We're still assessing what our needs will be as we move forward, and we need that moved back. Again, unless Todd's learned something today, we've been assured it's going to be moved back, but we were assured that last week too. We need to move back past the end of June. Alternative schedules we've looked at. I had a conversation speaking with a board member before we started tonight, or this afternoon, and this is in case we can't bring everybody back, and I'll get to that later in my comments. Are we talking A day, B day? Are we talking A week, B week? Are we talking all the elementary kids come across multiple campuses and the high school kids and middle school kids remote? None of that sounds good to me. It's going to depend what rules were put under by the state of North Carolina. I'll speak to that in just a second. We talked about some safety options. Students eating in classrooms instead of the cafeteria to have the separation. We're going to be putting floor markings in bathrooms and in hallways to maintain 6-foot separation. Marty's group is in the process of acquiring some sprayers with some disinfectants that would provide additional cleaning one time a week in addition to our regular cleaning. These sprays would go into schools, and it's about getting into the air. We do that in the buses as well. We've looked at purchasing masks as needed. We've not seen anything that requires masks, but I will tell you the Department of Health and Human Services continues to recommend masks. So I think we'll probably be in a situation of providing and hoping people use them. I don't see that we've had a statement that we can require it yet. Turning off water fountains in hallways, probably be a good thing not to have those going right now till we get going. And here's the thing, none of this is forever. I still think back to March 13. I sent y'all a memo that morning and or that evening, and met with high school, met with all the principals that morning, special call principals meeting. And I kind of think we're getting close back to where we were there. I would have liked to have seen if we could have had a chance to keep going. we had a lot of things in place which now are in the DHSS rules as far as separation, keeping campuses clear from outside people as much as possible. Taking temperatures of students and staff members beginning each day. Very likely that will happen. How that will happen, we're working on that. Because how are we going to do that without creating a line, 300 people sticking out the front door of a school? I'm not real interested in that. I'm not interested in that scene at all. And then, oh, by the way, it's great when it's sunny and warm. It's not great when it's raining and cold. So we're going to have to figure that one out. A lot of discussion going on there. And then quarantine rooms. What happens when a child has symptoms during the day and we have to remove them from the student body until mom or dad can come pick them up? We're in the process of Greg Brewer's moving around schools looking for space that can be identified as the quarantine room in a school. So there's just some things we're talking about. One of the things that has entered into the instructional side of this is the idea of live streaming. Really like this idea. So if you're not in school, say we're on A day, B day, and look, that's not optimal. Say we're on A week, B week, that's not optimal. But I'm in the group that's not here today. Well, Stephen Gainey's teaching his Math 1 class, and it starts now. So if you're not in school, you're live streamed away from here. And that will help us with our staff not having to do the double teaching. So we're working on that now as we speak. Do we have the bandwidth to do it? We do. We've been assured we do, but there will be hiccups with that. There also would be hiccups with the idea that not everybody will be able to get on where they live. So somebody still may have to have a hard copy packet. So we're working on that. That's instructionally. Now to the the item that really is going to be the turning point of our summer. So to give you a picture, 2 weeks ago, the Department of Health and Human Services was going to release a guidance document to school systems, and it was turned around, it was pulled back. And because it was a lot of recommendations, and a lot of people were pushing the recommendations versus requirements. It got pulled back and it was released again, and I sent that to you the other day. Quite frankly, I'm surprised it is 16 pages and not 60 or 70, so I was relieved it was at least a readable, manageable document, even there's a lot in there. What I did not see in that until the next day, because I'm not sure it's in that document, I did not realize until the next day that it mentions Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. Plan A is we're coming back, everybody at once. Plan B, we're coming back with 50% of the students. Plan C, no one's coming back, we're on remote learning. Okay, what I didn't see in there, and again, I don't know that it is in the document, but it has been confirmed in other meetings, that on July 1, the Governor's Office and the Department of Health and Human Services will make a decision whether we're on Plan A, Plan B, or Plan C. So that will really ramp up our planning for the school year. Obviously, we can't wait till then to do some of the things we're looking at and exploring and making plans for, but it will really ramp up then.
So you're saying the governor's office is going to make the decision for every school system across the state?
For the whole state.
I think actually the guidance is that they'll provide notice regarding the start of school on July 1st or by July 1st. So it may not be the whole state has to be in Plan A, B, or C.
Well, then that's
more, I think they left it more vague.
well, that's not, that, I would, not to disagree with you, Elizabeth, but that was news to me when I heard it on Wednesday in our superintendent meeting, statewide superintendent meeting with 115 superintendents and another 100 people. I heard that, and I had not heard that, and what was asked for clarification, that's what we were told, that July 1, the governor's office and Department of Health and Human Services will be making a statewide decision. Now, there was questions, Elizabeth, and board members about, well, what if, like I've got a colleague that says they've only had 10 cases in his county. And so his county he's struggling. He's struggling a lot because of that. So but I did not see that hard, fast. My concern with that is we have a month and a half before school starts. But so now you're hearing something different than I've heard, Elizabeth.
Yeah, they're not putting it in writing if they're saying they're going to do something hard
So-
like that. So.
Exactly did she say? I couldn't.
She said that,
Do I have a mic?
I don't have enough mics, Elizabeth, sorry.
You have none?
You can have one about one side.
He's got three.
I said that the guidance document that was published and released is not very clear. It doesn't say specifically.
No, it doesn't say a thing about it.
It says that there will be some information about the start of school before July 1st.
And that's what,
So,
and that's what shocked me, Elizabeth, on our superintendent call, or conference we had the next day on the 10th. I'm sitting there taking notes, and all of a sudden they mentioned July 1, and I'm like, it wasn't in that document. I didn't see it in that document. If it is, somewhere it's buried. And y'all saw a document, I don't know if y'all saw it in there or not. So, more to come on that, but that's what we left that meeting with, and I was in the meeting the next day, and it came up again, and it was reinforced again that July 1 was going to be a big decision day. So
Kills your whole sports thing and everything.
it could. Because I don't know how, if we don't go back, everybody on campus, I don't know how we're going to do, if we have to have an A day, B day, or anything of that nature, it's going to be, I don't know how we're going to be able to have any
You
activities.
know what I really think? I think if you don't go back to school in some form, and I'm talking about go back on campus, you're going to really hurt the public school system. That's what I think. I think you're going to pretty much, the parents, they handled it the past few months. You put it again out there like that, they're going to say, you know what? We might as well just quit. We'll do it ourselves. And, I mean, it's going to really hurt the public school system.
Well,
It's going to, financially, it's going to be a disaster.
is there any guidance on if we do go to option C, which is, I guess, on a week, off a week, or complete virtual, are they going to give us any more funds? Is that something they're going to come up with?
Well, that's what several of us have mentioned overall, is that, my concern is the funds are flowing right now, but are they going to go across, how far are they going to go? So for instance, the way, if we go A day, B day, if we go on A day, B day, or A week, B week, well, first of all, the most optimal thing would to see every kid. Split shift. Half in the morning. If you can't go everybody at one time, see everybody every day. But we can't afford that transportation-wise. Y'all know we already struggle with transportation now. There's no way we can afford to run buses double than what we run. So that's off the table. And then we'll have to be very careful, any kind of A day, B day format, if we went there, that we don't send child nutrition into a cliff financially. Because you run into, the reimbursement money comes from providing meals every day. And an example is, I think we wound up serving 281,000 meals, if that's my numbers in my mind, 281,000 meals during the time of school closure for all the stuff we did until we went to summer feeding. And at the same time during a regular school year, I think if you looked at the previous spring, the number of meals was 781,000, so we're about 500 off. So there's reimbursement money. Think about that money not coming back through. We get money. There's a lot of cliffs, and you asked a great question, Mr. Biggs. And there'll be a time when out there, Randolph County school system receives $6 million in relief money. But I think I told you, if we put a mask on every child for every day of the year, the only way I know to do that is to make sure you have one, that's $14 million in a $5 mask. So there's a lot of things out there that concern me about our resources, where we're going to be. And so we're going to be very careful. That's why Todd we're just waiting for this date on the 1043 money to get moved back, so we can use it. We can use it more effectively, and I have to pick child nutrition, which is a distinct category to 1043 money. We don't want to have to put child nutrition monies in that very flexible group we had, the amount of money we got back at spring break. So,
This is the last question I got. So I'm assuming the State Board of Education, they're having a real big say in this, or not really? About Florida school?
the health issue, I think, is going to come more from the Governor and Department of Health and Human Services. Would you agree, Elizabeth?
I think it depends on how you look at it. Yes, in terms of how we need to protect the students and public health, but in terms of transitioning and what these different plans look like, that's where the state board is going to be more of an influence.
But I don't believe the state board will give the direction, the hard, fast direction that was given early on with some of the things that came from the state board with the grading and all that. I don't think, you asked if we wind up on C, that's the whole role of this remote learning plan. We wind up on C, that's where we're going, we'll have to go there. I'm just, you know, I wish I had a better answer, but at this point, and like I say, that was news to me, as I was reading the document early on, I thought, well, you got A, B, and C, and then that, like I say, when it came out in that meeting, I was like, well, I'm also concerned about July 1 is way out in advance of August 17, and even August 4, that's a long ways off, so,
Well, just because they say July 1 in that document doesn't mean they can't make decisions after July 1 that are different.
Yeah,
that's
This can
gonna be so
change
busy.
constantly for the rest of, for all of the 2020-21 school year.
yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be a disaster.
So, you know, I can tell you, I'll share a couple more things, but I can tell you, we are putting together a plan based on what's required out of the DHSS document. We're using many of the action statements. Then we're also looking at some of the recommendations that we feel that need to be in there, but we're going to hone in on the requirements, because we obviously don't want to get crossways with health officials either. We don't want to get crossways with anybody's safety. But we'll continue to monitor this and continue to tighten our plans as time goes. But as you can see, right, this is a clear example of, I talked to the leadership team today, and this is a clear example of things going back and forth. And do I believe that we could have a different decision after July 1? I would agree with you, Elizabeth, but I was really stunned when that came out the other day. That really shocked me, because I didn't think that was coming. So more to come on that. I will give you just a little bit of good news. Although, well, maybe some of that is good news as well, but some of it is not. Very proud of staff members and parents and students to date. We have come back. We have 87% of our Chromebooks have been turned back in, and of that, 2,101 of them have been inspected, and only 75 of them have turned up damaged. So 96% of the ones inspected are in good shape. And just so you know, Dale Brinkley, after the collection day, he went a day or two, and trying to get everything they were dealing with the collection, and then he went in and he has disabled every one that's still out there. The ones that are out there are not usable. If someone goes to turn them on, the screen comes up and tells them to return it to the Randolph County school system. So it does no one any good to keep our Chromebook at this point. So. Last couple things, social emotional learning curriculum is going to be a big issue as we move forward. We are making plans to implement a stronger social emotional learning curriculum than what is in place already in health classrooms throughout the school system. We did have a survey out on June 3rd. It came down on Friday the 12th. The idea behind that survey was to just get the thoughts of from staff as far as needs and where we may go with implementing this. We were going to do something before the staff left this year with them, but we decided that was just probably too much, just some information and a little bit of kind of like a module for them to complete. We'll crank that up early next year as we continue to look to work and meet the needs of students. But there'll be some tremendous social emotional issues that'll come back when we come back, school starts. And lastly, we do have our COVID-19 resource page. We will continue to have that on the web page, on the top of the homepage of the web page. Tim has been putting everything there, and we will continue with telephone messages and videos as needed with information to go out. We've slowed down the videos a little bit just because of the volume and the slowdown of some of the information. So I'll answer any questions you have regarding what's going on at this point.
I can't imagine a teacher having to be in a classroom whatever amount of kids and trying to keep a mask on, especially the younger ones. That would be, I went to the doctor last week and, you have to wear one in, and I was struggling myself. I mean, I hated that thing. I couldn't breathe.
Well, there's been no requirement of that, but to think that we won't have masks available, I think that will be something that would be one that we will need to do. And we're looking at that right now, cost and suppliers. Another concern I have is when this money drops and people start pursuing these resources, I am quite concerned about suppliers. And you think it's not just 115 school systems in North Carolina, it's however many school systems are in the United States. And when people start pursuing the same resources, it's going to be interesting to see how quickly we can get the stuff back. And you saw some of the things we're using some of our money for. So anyways, we'll do the best we can with that. And I do believe you'll have availability of masks in schools. That's what we're planning. We're looking at that now. The idea that anybody's going to be required to wear one, I don't know how that would be enforceable, but that may come back later, and some more follow-up. We received a much more detailed document of 116 pages from DPI that provides some additional feedback with the items in the Department of Health and Human Services document. But that one's the one we're going to use to drive our work, that one I sent y'all the other night. So,
I'm really troubled by the whole thing. I'll just say that it's bothered me. They get me in trouble if it does. I don't care. I have a real problem, and I've lost maybe I had a little respect in a situation, but I don't have any now. But when you tell people you can't have but 25 here, 10 here, 50 in a group, and then our governor goes out and he goes on the street, which is fine, people marching, but he's doing it in a big crowd without a mask. So, I mean, I come to the old school, you practice what you preach. So when you go out, and that just looks bad when you're telling everybody else what they need to do and how you're supposed to live, and you do this and that, and you go right out and you go against everything you preach. And that's what he did. I mean, we're sitting here with no graduations because we can't have a crowd for those kids to march, walk on stage, but they can go out, he can go out, and because it's the politically right thing for him to do, it makes me sick. So you know what? It's going to be real hard when he comes up with his fine talk, and I don't know. I guess we'll have to play with those rules, but I have a real problem just right now dealing with that.
Next thing I see is, if we don't go back to school, you're gonna start seeing these virtual schools really start pushing to get students. I mean, because you're gonna look and they're gonna say, look, you haven't been going to school, you're getting your education virtual. You go to a traditional, regular virtual school, you don't have to put up with all the politics and answer to anybody in the traditional school system. I see virtual schools really start pushing and advertising. And then that's gonna hurt us down the road as a public school system. Because technically, if it goes that route, we're doing the same thing they are.
Yeah, I think it's hurting us as a country. We need to get back in the classroom. There's no replacement for those teachers. There's that interaction and that accountability. We all have to be held accountable. And there's no accountability. There's a lesser accountability. I know there is some.
I know that as a school board and just as a school system, we just have to control what we can control. Just would be very surprised that there's going to be a blanket statement made by the governor that Mecklenburg schools system is going to be handled the same way as Avery County or something like that, But as far as getting what we can control, as far as what's coming up next, the next thing that many of us, or at least us, that would kind of face with it is the graduation. We put this thing out there for a vote for the graduation that was said to make it to the 25th. The people were not voting to have graduation on the 25th, they were voting to have a regular graduation. So if we come back with, on July 25th, some kind of the graduations like what we've seen with neighboring counties, that we could have done last week, that's not what they were voting for. So I will say that, and I don't know what like I said, what Gary said, there's so much conflicting things. We get something told on July 1st, what we do, but, they're still allowed to do a lot of other things in the state. So I think, I'm going to tell you that if it comes down to, they're telling us we cannot have a normal graduation, then I think there's a lot of decisions that need to be made by the school board, by the administration or whatever, that may or may not be compliant, but I think the decision needs to be made. I think everybody knows where I'm going with that.
I'm kind of with you on that. By golly, when it comes down to having a graduation, you work it out the best way you can. It may not be, but you know what? We owe it to them. I'm just tired of sitting back.
But it's also optional for, they don't have to be there if they don't want to though. So.
What's your system? I know the high school where you, they had tell me about it this weekend.
They had a regular graduation this past weekend. I mean, you could see the chairs set, like 6 feet apart. They were sitting on the football field and walked across the stage, had traditional graduation. And that was this past week?
That's South Carolina.
No, it was in Washington, North Carolina.
Well, I know that what Fred said, I've heard a little bit of rumblings, and I don't know what the logistics are exactly going to be, but I know July 25th, the parents are anticipating a normal graduation.
That's what they were voting for.
That's what they're voting
I mean,
for, yeah.
that's what I said. It didn't matter what the question was. Everybody knew what they were voting for, so, and I don't want to hijack this meeting with that because that's something for a later date, but that is something I think that we as a board may have to deal with one way or another. That's all.
We'll keep that in mind, Fred.
It's like a little Walmart.
Okay, Barry. How are you?
Good evening, Chairman Cooks, and members of the Randolph County Board of Education. I thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to talk a little bit about the challenge and the charge that we've had before us and what we have been doing over the past couple of weeks. In late May, we heard that we would be responsible for developing a remote learning plan, not just Randolph County School System, but every school system in the state of North Carolina. At that time, we did not have a template, but we knew what the 13 components would include. So we decided that we could not wait for the template to arrive. So we formed a group here and a group across the county to take the 13 required components and to digest what we were being asked to do. Initially, the remote learning plan was designed or meant to address the 5 remote days built into the calendar, with the understanding that this plan could be deployed in the event that remote learning would need to take place more than just those 5 days. So we formed the groups across the county to take a look at that, while simultaneously we decided, how do we give voice to everyone that this could impact? So we launched surveys with students, staff, and parents. Some were just response answers, and some of those questions were open-ended. We wanted to know what worked well during the time that we were charged with learning and teaching remotely when this happened unexpectedly around the 13th of March. We wanted to know what was working well. We wanted to know what we needed to improve upon, what was not working as well as it could be working for all students, staff, and parents in the Randolph County school system. So with that, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our students, to thank our parents, to thank staff, and to thank you all for the work that has been done since March 13th. As we worked with about 82 individuals to first break down the 13 components, we asked them to reach out across and within the school and within the community to ask questions about the particular components and the impact that this might have. So where are we now? We've launched the surveys. We've built a shell around what we did and what worked well. And at the same time, we initially surveyed and we took a look at the state statistics on internet accessibility within Randolph County. So we moved to develop what we call hotspots, internet wireless access, in all 31 of our schools in the parking lots, park and learn. Because we know that there are places in Randolph County where our internet providers don't reach. So then the next phase, and Dr. Gainey mentioned this, was to take a look at our broadband width and how much live streaming could we do if we were put in a similar situation again for a short period of time, for a lengthy period of time. What could we do? So we moved to increase our ability to live stream directly from classrooms. And we're happy to say that based on everything that we've assessed and along with the state, we have the capability to do that. Now that's not going to be without hiccups because it's also based on the wireless capability within the homes and the areas for the individuals who need to access that live streaming. The other thing that we looked at in working with our parents and students and staff is that we realized that we have multiple programs within the district, and that works well when we're in normal circumstances. So we heard we need to reduce the amount of time and the effort it takes to sign into digital devices. So we moved to purchase something called ClassLinks, and what that will do is it merges our programs together so that students can sign on one single sign-on, and staff members may do that as well. We feel like that will also be a great benefit for parents. The other piece that we looked at is that we may have circumstances moving forward where we may have to deliver lessons with the capability to deliver those lessons face-to-face or make those lessons available virtually across pre-K-12. Well, how do you do that without duplicating the work of a teacher? So we've looked at Canvas. We're already a Canvas district, and we know that the state is supporting Canvas. So we have expanded our Canvas capability to where we're going to move to having all of our lessons developed within Canvas. So our principals have been working with their staff in the buildings, and we will continue to do that. We will have a transition period up through August to allow the conversion and the moving of that information into a Canvas platform. So why are we doing that? Well, the Canvas gives uniformity. Because if I'm a parent and I have a child in multiple classes across multiple grade levels, it will help as parents are supporting their children and as we communicate with parents that we have something with consistency and that folks can expect and depend on. So we have begun to deploy that training and will continue to provide support for our staff, for our students and parents in terms of looking at the effective use of Canvas. So where are we now? We have a draft that we're finalizing. Principals have had those pieces, they're sharing with staff. It is our goal tomorrow to cast the net wider and deeper. So we will be posting what we have to date in response to not only the 13 original components, but you see, once the template came out about a week ago, we now have 2 additional components that which were in the original 13, but they've been extracted. So we will put that information out there. Individuals will again have the opportunity to share feedback. And how do we view this remote learning plan? Well, we have chosen to look at it as not a one and done document. You can't do that and continually improve. So we decided to take the model that we use when we develop our school improvement plans. This is where we've been, this is where we are now, and we're going to build in incremental times where we will make adjustments to this remote learning plan. Our goal is to have maximum flexibility, to support our staff so that we can build lessons that can be delivered, not just face-to-face, but that information can be virtual. It could be live streamed if we need to do that. We can also print directly from that lesson paper copies. When I think about having been a teacher and when I think about having been a principal, there are times that you might have multiple staff members out. You know, if something hits the school, like flu, for example, teachers plan together anyway. But how wonderful to be able to go to a digital resource and say, this is the lesson plan for kindergarten here. This is the lesson plan for that 6th grade math class. So we could either live stream from a classroom, we could print it as necessary, or if we have consistent resources at those grade levels, then everyone has access. So part of this remote plan also includes how do we build in on-call for digital and tech support. We've had to do that and build this as we go. But we know, should we be in this situation again, however short or long, we need to have flexible hours when parents can reach us and everyone for that support. So the plan will come back to you as it stands right now on June 25th. It is going to be a living and working document where we will make adjustments as we go, because we don't know what phase we will be in. But this is what I will tell you that we have been working on and we will continue to work on. Making the resources available face-to-face, digitally, and in print, and we have to consider the learning for all students in all circumstances from pre-K through 12. So our next charge will be, you will see this posted, we'll share this with you, we'll continue to gather feedback, we will bring the plan to you on the 25th as it stands. In July, we are planning to have town halls via Zoom for additional communication opportunities, two-way communication opportunities with our various stakeholders across the county. I think it's going to be important to hear that. Then on the 20th, we have to submit the plan in a very prescribed format that they have provided to us. Goes to the state, and they take it to the State Board of Education. And I understand that then they have legislative reporting requirements. So we've not sat still. We've tried to look at what we have done. So I wanted to bring to you where we are tonight, and I will pause and ask if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer those.
So I assume we had to pay for more subscription or something like that with Canvas?
Yes, sir. I'm very proud. I have a pretty astute and frugal staff, and so they have been balancing some resources and found a way in which we could capitalize on resources coming to us. So we were able to expand the Canvas because we have been a Canvas district now for 4 years. We were able to expand that. The state does give us some money towards the Canvas, and they support this. So that has not been a huge expense for this district. And it was one we were planning to move towards anyway.
But the school system already had, our annual subscription for Canvas already was $71,000. We have 12 technology subscriptions we have a year. They total $210,163, and $71,000 already was to Canvas. So we already had a big investment as a school system in Canvas with support and protective support. I understand.
So what's it going to now?
I understand that individuals don't like to use Canvas. I'm very clear of that, but there's also been some security issues in some of the other areas. So that's why we're providing support now. We can ramp up. A lot of people have been using Canvas. So just know that piece. We've already had a significant advance. And Canvas is supported by the state of North Carolina as a learning management system.
Ms. Berry, speaking of what Dr. Daniels spoke on a little bit, the guidance is coming July 1st. I know we're going to meet on the 25th. I know you guys are probably scrambling, but I guess y'all make adjustments then if there's changes that need be. And I guess, and I know we always correspond back and forth and getting emails. I guess y'all send that to us, changes for me.
Yes, sir. Our goal when March 13th occurred, we had to react as a staff, as a community, parents and students. What our goal has been all along is how can we take this situation and plan ahead for the future with maximum flexibility. So we believe the direction that we're going with a blended approach gives us that flexibility to adjust on a dime. You know, we're keeping current information on internet accessibility throughout the county. We're increasing bandwidth. We've purchased instructional resources very thoughtfully over the last few years that provide both a digital and printed platform. So we feel really good about the direction that we're going and the ability to adjust. It's not going to be perfect, but the other piece is that we need to continue, I think, to survey as we move along. And that's not just enough. We know that we also, at the school level, must continue to make those calls to receive feedback.
And just to clarify one issue about this very nebulous July 1st thing. The state guidance is that the school systems have a plan for A, B, or C, so that they can go in and out between A, B, and C at any time. So if they say on July 1st it'll be B, there'll be a plan for that. If they say it'll be A, there'll be a plan for that. Does that make sense? So it should not be an issue in terms of, you know, them deciding A, B, or C at some random point, July 1st or some other time.
Yeah, my point was that it was just a blanket A, B, or C for the entire state.
Well, I'm going to make a comment on that because here's the way I look at it, and it's just the way I look at it, and I may be wrong. You know, if we're in B, if the state puts us in B on the 1st of July, and then on the 16th of August they tell us we're in A, I think every parent will respond up in arms, happy to get their kids back in school. And if we're in B and on the 16th of August I have to call, just like on a snow night, and say school's canceled, don't come, that's not anything unusual. So I'll be shocked if we're not putting B. There obviously is some confusion here. I don't know the answer at this point. I'm sorry. I'm reporting what I was shared with in my meeting last week because I was shocked when I was told that July 1. So I think we'll land in B, but that's just my opinion.
So one last piece I would like to share with you with regard to Canvas. We were moving in the direction to shift to Canvas anyway. We've just had to move that timeline up. So we now have the resources to support that. But one really important piece that happened when March 13th occurred for the district we already had high school courses developed in Canvas. So we were able to release the content from those courses to some teachers across the county that had not had an opportunity to get to be as involved with Canvas for that virtual piece. So we've also been doing that in middle school, and it's a little more of a shift in elementary school, but I'm really proud of the direction. We've had some principals really step up to the plate, and we know that that transition will occur through August. I thank you for the opportunity to talk with you and to let you know what we've been doing, and I certainly welcome any questions that you have or feedback as we move along the way. Any further questions?
I know this is probably, you don't have an answer for this, Dr. Gaines, Ms. Berry, but the plan B, as I was looking over, there's like, there's what, option, goes all the way down to option F. So there's a lot of variables. I mean, there's so many. There's A, B, C, D, E. Well, if we go in B, I mean, those variables are just wide.
Yeah, I don't think, that's why I sent you the document, because this isn't gonna be a overnight plan, let's go. I don't think, the general public understands some of the requirements we're gonna be responsible for, so, it's gonna be a heavy lift. And as we see, it's gonna be a heavy lift. I think we'll wind up I believe in July, we'll wind up in B, and we'll be at a pivot either one. With very minimal. I mean, if we close school and go to remote learning, we better have a good remote learning plan, which is what we're discussing tonight.
Okay.
Board members, I also want to make clear, hold on one second, Cap. I want to make it clear too that on the 25th, we're very likely going to bring you a remote learning plan as an action item to vote on. This will be a living document. We will continue to adjust as we move forward with the town hall meetings and all, but we'll judge debate on whether we're going to bring it in on the 20th for the vote, because we need to have it in the 20th. So we're running on a timeline. No one asked us on the front end. If we had waited on template, quite frankly, we'd lost, 3 or 4 weeks, Cap? Template just came out, I think, on the 5th of June. We had staff been working on this thing for weeks. So we're going to do the best we can with it and make sure we're taking care of kids.
All right, good afternoon, board members. Is it on?
No. Is it muted?
All right, there we go. All right, good afternoon, board members. I would like to update you on a slight change to the way we plan to pay coaching supplements beginning with the 2021 school year. First of all, I would want to specifically define the sports seasons in terms of payments. So September, October, November would represent the fall season. December, January, February, the winter season. March, April, and May would represent the spring season. And then coaches would have 1 of 2 options. So they could receive their supplement in 3 equal installments during the sports season that they're coaching on the regular scheduled pay date. Or they could choose to have 1 payment at the end of that season on the regular scheduled sports date. So basically, if you're a football coach and you elect to have 3 payments, you would receive September, October, November. Basketball, December, January, February, baseball, March, April, May. Or if you chose the lump sum payment, you'd be looking at November lump sum for football, for example, February for basketball, May for baseball. For those positions like AD or assistant AD that work the entire year on multiple sports, we would continue to divide that up throughout the year in 10 payments. The reason I say slight change is we pretty much have this in place right now, but the option that we're getting away from is what we've allowed coaches, if they coach multiple sports, to add the total amount of their supplements together and then divide it over the entire year. But in essence, when we do that, we're prepaying some of that winter and some of that spring coaching supplement. And every year we have a few examples that they agree to coach baseball, but then something happens and, nah, I'm not going to coach baseball, but then we've already started paying them for it ahead of time. So we really want to get away from that scenario. So I think this gets away from that, but still gives them a couple of good options. Any questions on that? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I think that's a good thing we can get cleaned up and help our payroll department to keep up with things better.
This time we need a motion to approve the consent items.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to curriculum and instruction. Yeah, you're back on.
Thank you. Tonight I have 5 items for curriculum and instruction, and we'll start with the first one. The first one is actually an annual and recurring agreement of affiliation between the Randolph County School System and the Randolph Community College. This is a memorandum of understanding, and I will entertain any questions that you have. At this time, I'd like to thank Randolph Community College for their continued partnership. They provide a lot of opportunities for our students, and it's indeed a pleasure to work with the community college staff.
Okay, at this time we need a motion to approve the 2020-2021 memorandum of understanding between the Randolph County School System and Randolph Community College for the Randolph Early College High School.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you so much. Tonight, I also present to you the memorandum of agreement between the Randolph County School System and Mount Olive. We are very, very pleased with this. This program, as you know, has been hosted at Providence Grove High School. This is an annual agreement, a memorandum of agreement, so I bring this to you tonight for your approval.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the 2021 articulation agreement between the University of Mount Olive and the Randolph County School System for the Higher Education AG Experience Program at Providence Grove High School.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item for your approval, I present to you tonight the memorandum of understanding for the Career and College Promise. That is between the Randolph County School System and Randolph Community College. These courses are offered to our students for college credit, and we are appreciative of the opportunities afforded to our students across all of our high schools.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the 2020-2021 Memorandum of Understanding for Career and College Promise Initiatives.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The last memorandum of agreement I have tonight that I'm presenting to you is the articulation agreement that exists between the Randolph County School System and the Randolph Community College. This allows students to articulate college credit. Again, we are thankful for the partnership and their work on behalf of students. I present this to you tonight as an annual agreement.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the 2020-2021 Articulation Agreement between the Randolph County School System and the Randolph Community College.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The last item tonight, at our previous board meeting, Lynette Graves, Dr. Graves, presented our summer learning plan. After the plan was presented, we received information that we could not draw down the funding or have access to that funding until July. So we made an adjustment to the dates so that we would be in sync with that funding. So I present to you tonight that change, and I seek your approval for those changes to the summer learning plan.
We need a motion to approve the revised 2020 supplemental summer learning program.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you so much.
We had a lot of kids sign up for that summer learning.
Extremely well. We did.
So remind me again, as far as the funding for all that, then, I mean, I know a lot of teachers I've talked to, they said that they're getting a lot of, a lot more interested in what they thought they would, but.
It's a special line of funding in that House Bill 1043, and there was some special categories. If you remember when I sent you the budgets, child nutrition was a category, devices was a category, summer learning was a category, House Bill 1043. Also, we will get to use that money, we'll stretch, I think, until December 31st. But in some meetings I was in, if I remember correctly, we were cautioned not to take that money and just use it during the school year, that there was expectation that it would be used some this summer. But it's a good amount of money, Mr. Burgess. So I'm glad that we've had good response.
And we'll have enough, no matter how many sign up.
Oh, yes, yes. As far to cover it, to keep from using other monies, yes. Yes, I don't foresee that. That's what we ran in with years. I pointed Mr. Boyles, because Mr. Boyles we used to bring, when we tell you how much we had to revert for the reading camps every year until they changed and let us use some of the extra for stuff on K3 at the end. That was always a tough day to see that money go back.
Are the numbers down a lot from like previous years, or?
Based on what I saw, they seem to be up in terms of the interest in it. It will be a blended platform where we will provide a digital resource for parents, but also we'll hire teachers at each of the grade levels. We'll assign to a certain number of students so they will be able to connect with parents on the phone or also virtually. But the letters of intent coming in from the parents, we've been very pleased with the response, very pleased with the response from the staff members who've shown an interest to teaching that. So we hopefully will have hard numbers and bring those back to you and can update you along the way as the program is going on. So we are pleased with the response.
Maybe just figured out a new way to do it in the future.
Thank you all
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah. Do make sure the parents know that it is remote learning, they're not sending their kids to school. You know, 'cause that's, I think some of them say, I'm good, it's an opportunity to send them away for once.
We did put that in the letter.
Okay.
But I will make sure that we continue to share that, so thank you.
Oh, no, we'll get somebody to do
All right, wait, Todd, you're back up.
Okay, board members. During our February 10th, 2020 board work session, if you recall, at that time I updated you on the school business systems modernization plan. And if you remember, that was that statewide initiative to update financial software systems and HR software systems. At that time, we talked about how that plan had been put on hold by the state, and basically, when the General Assembly did not pass the 1920 budget, that funding was tied into that budget. So for all school systems that were ready to move forward, other than the pilots, there are about 4 pilot systems out there, and they did have the funding to continue with those, but everything else got put on hold. And if you recall, in August, I believe, you had approved for us to, a recommendation was brought to you to go with Tyler Technologies for our financial and HR piece. That implementation was supposed to begin in January 2020. So it did not. Currently, we're still using Serenic. And this year was a cost of $9 per student for a total of $142,524 for the 1920 fiscal year. So tonight, we would recommend that we enter into a 3-year contract with Serenic at a price break of $6.40 per ADM, or $100,256 for the 2021 school year. So this does represent a savings for the 2021 year of $40,729 over the 1-year pricing at the same $9 rate of $140,985. The price break of $6.40 per student is guaranteed for the 3-year term. Now, it will fluctuate a little bit based on ADM. It could go down a little bit, it could go up a little bit, but the $6.40 is locked in for the 3 years. I guess the main reason for this recommendation, I feel like due to the climate of the state budget, I feel like we'll definitely need Serenic for 2 more years, 2021, 21, 22. So if you do the math, and maybe even a 3rd year or partial, because I'm not really confident that the modernization plan is going to get back on track anytime soon. But let's say worst case scenario, well, best case scenario, I guess we only needed it for 2 years, Serenic. If you do the math, in that 3rd year that we would have to pay to Serenic, we would only be on the hook for $18,798. That's the 3-year pricing compared to a 2-year contract if we were paying, compared to 2 1-year contracts if we were still paying the $9 per ADM. So I think the math is in our favor, especially for the next 2 years, because we will be saving approximately $40,000 each year for the next 2 years. Are there any questions about that?
Wouldn't it actually run through the 2022, 23 year?
It would be 2021, 21, 22, 22, 23. Right, but what I'm saying is, worst case scenario is we would actually pay for the 22, 23 year with Serenic, and we might not need it because we might be on Tyler by the end, but if we did, it would really only cost us $18,798 if you compared it to going forward with 2 1-year contracts right now. So if you compare the 3-year plan to the 2 1-year contracts.
And I'm just going to speak from my experience. I don't see this business modernization. Maybe I'll stand here a year from now or 2 years from now and be corrected. I don't see this coming anytime soon because, quite frankly, Superintendent sat in the meeting and listened to a bunch of planning for this, and it was a very clear disconnect between DPI, the legislature, and probably the state board as well. DPI seemed to have all the plans, and remember back in the winter, Mr. Tillman asked for a email from me to Mr. Berger, I think it was, regarding, and just if y'all remember, folks, our prices as this plan has been exposed to the public from DPI, we went in 17-18 from paying $45,000 and some change to Saranac to the next year to $61,000 to this year $142,000. So for Saranac to come back and be bringing it down, I think that speaks volumes, and I just don't think we can stay in limbo waiting for a business modernization plan that we've not, other than us agreeing on who we wanted, that's the last thing we've seen movement in our direction towards our help. So Todd brought this to me the other day, and I just felt like would it be in 3 years, and to your question, Mr. Cutler, about the third year, I think we have to protect the Randolph County school system at this point, and we're looking at, if we use it 3 years, which I do think we will, we'll save $120,000 over 3 years compared to what we're paying in Saranac now. So maybe I'll be proven wrong, maybe DPI will get this thing pushed through, but there's questions, there's even questions, is the money even there? So part of it, but first said the budget didn't pass, that's why we didn't get to move forward. But I don't know, I just don't know the status of it, and I'm not interested in waiting and and not saving this money that we can save now, and we've got something we can save tangible.
Does the Serenic actually, does it update everything across the different systems then?
No, it doesn't. Serenic is just payroll.
It doesn't do the grades and all, I mean, like everything?
Oh, no.
Okay, all right.
No,
That's that's 17,000.
Well, I know that's what, originally what we were,
No,
you wanted something, not, I'm sorry, not the grades, I say grades.
HR.
HR, I mean, that's.
Tyler will eventually, HR and finance will eventually talk together,
Yeah,
and when that happens, there'll be a lot more efficiency. Right now, you've got HRMS and HR, and you've got Saranac over here, and they're not talking.
okay.
But when we get it, it'll be great, but I just don't think.
So this 100,000 is just really
To keep
it's
going.
just keep going what we're paying 45 and 61 for, last couple of years. I mean, 142 last year.
142 this year, and yeah, so so, and really, we don't have any choice. I mean, we have to stay with Serenic until we can get on track with Tyler, but unfortunately, that's out of our control at this point.
No other option.
There's really no other option. I mean, the only option would be to just continue doing 1 year at a time with Serenic, but if we do it it's going to cost us more money to do it that way. I guess the main reason we didn't want to try to get into a 3-year contract last year is because we felt like we would be on Tyler within 18 months, and of course, everything came to a halt. And at one point, even the four pilots came to a stop, and there was an uproar about that, and so they found the money to continue with the pilots. But other than the 4 school systems doing the pilots, that's been it. Everybody else is at a standstill. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of faith in that getting back on track anytime soon. But we would need your approval for the 3-year contract.
More questions? Okay, we need a motion to approve the Serenic agreement for the 2020, 2021, 2021, 2022, and the 2022, 2023 physical years.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries.
Thank you.
I move that the Randolph County Board of Education will enter into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute to preserve the attorney-client privilege, to discuss confidential personnel matters protected by North Carolina General Statute, and to discuss confidential student matters, if needed, protected by FERPA.
Okay, we have the motion to go in closed session. Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those during closed session.
to go.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the certified personnel report.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We need a motion to approve the classified personnel report.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is that it? We need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Have a second.
Yep.
All right, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're out of here.